Hello, my name is Joseph McCaller, and this is our UNIQLO leadership case analysis.
The problem statement. UNIQLO's traditional Japanese management style, built on discipline and strict processes, is creating challenges when applied in Australian cultural context, where employees place greater importance on flexibility, autonomy, and work-life balance, resulting in a declining employee morale.
Before we can begin this analysis, we should first define culture. So, culture is the shared motives, values, beliefs, identities, or interpretations of significant events that result from common experiences of members of a collective and are transmitted across generations. So, within culture, we are going to be primarily focusing on Geert Hofstede's cultural framework and three attributes within that. The first attribute of which is power distance, which is the extent to which less powerful members of an institution accept that power is distributed unequally. For Japan, who are graded as intermediate and meritocratic society, this kind of demonstrates a balanced understanding of hierarchy, of free social mobility, and also of hard work being rewarded with power. So this could potentially explain how the Japanese employees are more willing to work that extra 30 minutes. Comparatively, Australians define hierarchy more out of use for convenience and allowing information and communication to flow vertically and horizontally. So this kind of frustration stemming from this is exampled by the Australian employees being frustrated at a store layout idea being rejected by leader A. The second attribute is uncertainty avoidance, which is the extent to which members of society feel anxious about ambiguous situations. So Japan is a strongly uncertainty avoiding country, has created these belief systems to avoid these unknowns. This is kind of demonstrated through Leader A's strong adherence to UNIQLO's operational guidelines, as well as them valuing discipline and structure. However, in Australia, a culture that tends to appreciate more flexible working environments, this can kind of be perceived as rigid and suffocating. Finally, the last attribute is indulgence, which is the degree to which people attempt to control their impulses. So Japan, as a culture of restraint, puts little emphasis on leisure time, which is kind of highlighted by Leader A's emphasis on efficiency and avoiding personal conversations at work. However, this is somewhat oppositional to the Australian culture, which is described as one of indulgence, and this can kind of result in some dissatisfaction and pressure, which may stem from this difference in views.
Theory 1. Transformational leadership. UNIQLO's challenge of Japanese management culture clashes can be addressed through transformational leadership. This style emphasizes inspiring a shared vision, motivating employees, and empowering them to contribute, rather than relying on rigid control. A quote from the Lansfield and Reagan report states that being a transformational leader means to be on top of the business and in the business, having the ability to be detached and take a wider perspective, while also being immersed in the details when needed. For Leader A, this means shifting from strict enforcement, treating all staff as equals, to explaining the why behind UNIQLO's service standards, while adjusting routines where necessary through individualised consideration, as well as encouraging staff to adapt some of the service standards locally. Using inspirational motivation, he can align employees with UNIQLO's purpose and power distance, allowing Australian staff to have a greater understanding of the established culture and hierarchy in UNIQLO. This balance allows UNIQLO to maintain global service excellence while respecting cultural differences, ultimately boosting morale and empowering employees, which in return will create better work ethic through trust and collaboration rather than strict enforcement.
This is our theory on contingency-based leadership. There is two key factors here, directive behaviour and supportive behaviour. Directive behaviour looks like one-way communication. This is where employees often follow a strict set of rules. On the other hand, you have supportive behaviour, which looks like two-way communication. This is where employees are in more of a coaching/supportive environment, where they have more of an opportunity to work freely and make their own choices under less strict supervision. In countries such as Japan, directive behaviour is the cultural norm. So they're given a strict set of tasks and they follow them directly to the best of their ability, and they're happy with that. But sometimes this isn't always the best scenario, especially in other countries. In countries such as Australia, supportive behaviour is a lot better, as employees like to take more ownership over their own work and have more freedom within the workplace. So situational leadership better allows for that because there is less strict direction on what they need to do. Using the theory and research on contingency-based leadership, I've been able to form Solution 1. As we can see, there's many quotes from employees from UNIQLO about their current working situations. They have said, in quotes, they've had to do everything by themselves because the employees were given no chance to think for themselves. They were being told one by one exactly what needed to be done and when. And current managers wanted to build stronger connections with their employees and build a greater sense of empowerment. So I believe the best solution to fix this is to switch from the current directive behaviour to more supportive behaviour. By doing this, it creates more of a coaching and motivating environment as employees have more freedom. So this would be switching from an S1 leadership style to S2 or S3. This allows room for growth and increased input from employees, and it still allows some room for high directive to medium directive behaviour from leaders if they play so.
Thanks, Joe. Building on that, I'll take you through our second recommendation, transformational leadership. Right now, employees at UNIQLO feel their input isn't valued. They're being corrected in front of customers and asked to stay late without recognition. That creates frustration, and it's no surprise morale is low. The solution isn't more control, it's transformational leadership, a style that inspires, empowers, and builds trust. Studies tell us that when leaders empower staff and connect their work to a bigger vision, job satisfaction and commitment rise sharply. So what would this look like at UNIQLO? First, service insight huddles, just 2 minutes before each shift where managers explain the why behind standards. Instead of saying stand at the entrance, they might say this creates the warm welcome that defines UNIQLO worldwide. That small shift transforms routine tasks into meaningful contributions. Second, UniLooper, a digital feedback tool. After each shift, staff answer one question or leave an anonymous comment on the app or website. Research shows that real-time feedback makes employees feel more in control and boosts performance. UniLooper makes feedback effortless, so even the quietest employees feel heard. Managers get live insights into the issue, like overtime stress, and staff see that their voice matters. Third, recognition and support. A digital shout-out wall and a one-on-one coaching moments to celebrate contributions and develop talent. Recognition and personalized attention are proven to lift morale and motivation. And importantly, risks are minimal and manageable. Huddles are capped at 2 minutes, feedback is tied to visible "you said we did" updates, and leadership workshops ensure standards remain high. Together, these actions bridge the cultural gap between Japanese micromanagement and Australian expectations for independence. They reduce frustration, increase motivation, and create a workforce that's not just compliant, but inspired to deliver world-class service. I'll now pass it to Bennett, who will take you through our implementation plan.
So based on our recommendations, we have developed the following implementation plan. Firstly, there will be a strong focus on training the managers on transformational and situational leadership through designated leadership workshops, which will focus on cultural sensitivity and employee empowerment. These will take place initially in the final quarter of 2025. Service Insight Huddles will also begin implementation in the middle of the final quarter of 2025, and these will be a permanent addition to the workplace, utilized periodically upon need. Similarly, the recognition programs including shout-out walls and one-on-one coaching will also be launched in the final month of 2025 to carry out throughout 2026, and will also be a permanent addition to the workplace. At the beginning of the calendar year, a pilot of the UniLooper app will be run at one flagship store within Melbourne to test feedback collection and the system's operations. This will run throughout the first quarter. Near the end of the first quarter of 2026 and going into the second, an evaluation will be conducted, assessing employee engagement, turnover, and customer satisfaction. Then, thinking long-term, the new UniLooper feedback system will be expanded and hopefully implemented into a wide range of other stores around Australia from that point moving forward, with the aim of this being implemented by the middle of quarter 3 in 2026. And finally, continuous leadership development amongst existing managers will also be conducted, utilizing ongoing training modules following the conclusion of the upcoming financial year. Right now, it's over to you. You have the rare opportunity to change UNIQLO's leadership style from strict enforcement to guiding and inspiring a new direction. You can bridge the cultural divide by working to uplift employees, by raising their spirits and upholding UNIQLO's world-class standards, by putting the strategy into practice through the implementation of programs and processes that will allow changes to be explained. and employees to be able to voice their concerns and be acknowledged for their contributions. Finally, we have a simple message for you. Invest in your people and empower them. Lift them up and lead with a strong vision. And don't be afraid to embrace change. This is the moment to remain a global force within the fashion industry and continue to strive for further growth, improvement, and success.